Let's go to, let's keep it with money, I guess, for a moment.
Yeah.
The Big 12, are they getting rich right now? Like, are things like, and I don't mean Rich Rod. We won't go the West Virginia route here, but no pun intended. Speaking on money, let's talk about it.
The Big 12's getting so rich. TJ, so if you're ESPN, you are Fox or you're NBC or you're CBS or you're Netflix and TNT, you want to be involved in college football somehow. The Big 12 said, what if we signed a contract with all of them? What stinks? John Kurtz brought this up that he did a really good job of fleshing it out. The Big 12 is about to get rich, stupid rich, because of what Brett Yormark is doing on the business front. There is a problem. You're going to have to watch college basketball on Peacock and watch college football on Temu and go to Wayfair to watch your favorite college baseball team play. There are going to be a lot of subscriptions that come with this, but the Big 12 now has basketball contracts with ESPN. They'll be on CBS. They'll be on TNT. They'll have football on Fox. They'll be on NBC Peacock. They'll be on Peacock now. They just signed a deal with NBC for basketball to be carried on their network. They have a chokehold now, a stronghold on all major broadcast networks that are proven and that work. The Big 12 said, we want to be involved with all of you, and now they've inked contracts with each of them in the major revenue sports of football and men's basketball. Along with that, this conference is going to get more money and have more bidders at the end of the day. I've been recently, I didn't know that auctions were a thing. I play the banjo. This one's weird. I play the banjo, and I found this antique banjo at auction for $50. And I kept thinking, I'm looking at all the other items around it. This one's $7. This one's $12. This one's $15. And it's just because no one bid. Had someone bid $200, I'd probably put in a $250 offer for that banjo, right? What is going to drive the Big 12 making more money, what's going to drive the commerce of this conference to put them up there with the SEC or the Big Ten, are a couple successful years with NBC, with TNT, with CBS. And then those networks say, we don't have the SEC right now, but we like this Big 12 product. And if we can help use the same PR machine ESPN utilized to grow the SEC, to not lie necessarily, but almost rig this thing toward the SEC, maybe it'll work. Here's an example. ESPN's strength of schedule metric. Of the top 20 schools in the country, TJ, in strength of schedule, the SEC has 16 of them in there. Missouri, who plays 8 home games, a pretty cheesy non-conference slate, and 0 games against a college football playoff opponent from last season, they are 20th in the nation in strength of schedule. So what happens when the 20th team in the country beats the number 15 team in the country in strength of schedule? Nothing really changes that much. These are two teams that are battle-tested and gritty, and so, wow, we got to keep them up there. You have built this kind of recyclable wheel where every single time an SEC team loses, they actually kind of win. If the Big 12 is able to get a bidding war going between CBS, ESPN, Fox, NBC, and that number drives itself up, and then CBS wins that battle, TNT wins that battle, they can begin to create their own FPI metric, their own college football metric that says, wait, look at Kansas State. May not be roster talent on paper, but between wins and losses, and when you build it in an objective format, Kansas State has the 8th best strength of schedule. ESPN may tell you 28th because their contract with the SEC has insider trading written all over it. That's what the Big 12 is on the precipice of, building competition amongst networks to try to build up where this conference sits from a monetary standpoint. Now, yeah, you got to rent Peacock now if you're someone who wants to watch Big 12 basketball. But I'm telling you, man, I think and again, shout out John Kurtz for finding all this. We're sitting on a gold mine where the Big 12 is a couple years away from a big contract.
Yeah, I also think, so much is made, and we've done so much together about realignment and just TV, regionality of teams and why this team makes sense because of these new eyeball. Man, so much of it is streaming. And it's really the way of the world. Now, I still am a loser and have cable and use it for one thing and one thing only, and live sports is that thing because I just can't handle a 5-second delay. I can't stand when I'm watching a game and a tweet comes across before I see the play, so I do still pay for cable. However, most of the world isn't obsessive as I am, right? Like they may not do this for work too, so and that's a big factor. But so much, all that said, to say so much is streaming right now, and so to be ahead of the curve and really the way that most people are going, I mean, listen, we've saying Yormark's praises a ton. But being innovative here seems massive.
Yes, it's not. The SEC doesn't have to do this, right? The United States in 1926, TJ, you know what was good? The economy. So that we didn't have to change anything. The stock market's great. What would the SEC do right now to try to build that competition amongst TV networks? It really couldn't. They're happy with ESPN. Same with the Big Ten and Fox. But then in 1929, oh, we didn't see that coming, did we? The stock market fell. Do you think we've kind of heard inklings of this in the last couple of months? Do you think ESPN can keep doling out billions? They've already lost the MLB. They're already losing other networks. Like they wouldn't have bought the NFL because nothing that they're doing is working right now. They're losing money hand over fist. Do we really think that they can keep up with the $1 billion contracts for college football? Because I'm not sure if we're headed that direction where between inflation and the way football viewership looks at the collegiate level is sufficient for ESPN to make as much money as they want to.
Yeah, no, the sustainability, and again, you mentioned the strength of schedule and the FPI and the different metrics that they have built in. The sustainability turns a lot of people off, or what they're doing turns a lot of ability off too. To also question the sustainability, right? Like you said, you have baked in and cooked in metrics that we can look at and just say like, why are we doing this? What sense does this make? Who made this one network that has a very vested interest in XYZ to the albatross of information that, it almost makes me wonder, like, why does Fox not even have, we talk about the Big Ten too. Why does Fox not have their own, FPI?
Yeah.
That, why has that not been something that they've come up with? Their own algorithm that no one has a public knowledge of and that they can bake in their own, I wonder that. I wonder why that isn't done at other places. Why doesn't NBC have that or this network? And, so yeah, I mean, they're turning a lot of people off to it. And I think anything that is new is probably good for the sport. I don't know if it's best for ESPN or the SEC, but I do think it's good for the sport in general.
Can I give you another example of how ESPN loses? You ever watch, say, when Florida State was really at the peak of basketball, even a couple of years ago, where they had some really good basketball squads? There'd be nights where Florida State would play Clemson. They're both in the top 25. They're on ESPN Plus. You're going, why are they on ESPN Plus when NC State is playing Miami? Both teams are unranked because ESPN predetermines these games. They have ESPN Plus crews built into every major university in the country. Yeah. So typically they're Florida State students or faculty that are working the ESPN Plus game on campus. Allow them to work the game. Decide on Sunday, our ESPN slate features the best college basketball games. Is that not only going to drive more viewership and revenue? Yes, but that makes too much sense for them to go with. On top of that, TJ, I can't name a single show ESPN has on between the hours of noon, 1 to 4 Eastern. What? Used to those.
And you used to know all of them.
Yes,
used to know all of them. Around the Horn, PTI, all that stuff.
Now, nothing. And they diluted those shows too. But I cannot watch a single piece of programming. And I think what they lost was the blue collar American who loves sports, the blue collar American. Yeah, they're a Yankees fan, but they're still blue collar in their support for sports. Once they lost that audience, ESPN has not been the same.
No, not at all. It used to be you could literally leave it on all day. SportsCenter was so good at that time that you could watch the replay 5 times and then all of the programming they had on. Now it is, I watch ESPN for live sports and that's it. That's the only thing.